And welcome back to Morning Express, and we are discussing referendum matters here. And well, I'll just start off with some of the comments that are coming through. And Otelo says that Olelo rather, he says others are suffering like teachers in the hands of, okay, that's something to do with something different. But somebody says, Eunice Anyango says that according to what has been mentioned, funds must follow functions to ensure adequate service delivery in the countries, and she agrees with that totally. Joseph Odanga says, your panelists are dwelling much on how counties ought not to get more funding. Ask them why. Health is fully devolved, yet national government is retaining health funds. Let money go where the functions are. We also have somebody who says, if corruption is the basis of denying counties higher allocation, then national government should also be denied funds. We lose a lot of money at national level than county level. And I guess Honorable Lochi did speak to that, because we do have organs and institutions that speak to wastage and loss of money, and they should be the ones doing that. But let's now maybe just change focus a little bit and look at Building Bridges Initiative. And I'll start with you, Honorable Loch, from a legal mind, in terms of the legal structure that BBI has, because there are those who argue that BBI basically was set up as a result of the handshake, but has no legal structure to support what they're doing. And as a result, what stops anybody from going to court once they come up with a, whatever document they'll come up with, which we're waiting for, and contesting that and saying, look, there was no legality that structured this particular formation, Building Bridges Initiative?
I'm not worried myself about that, because even for the Third Way Alliance initiative, remember that for you to amend the constitution by popular initiative, you must come up with a general proposal or a draft bill. That is preceded by a process where you consult and probably collect views from people, and you arrive at, these are the proposals that we're going to amend. So at the tail end of what is the Punguza Mzigo bill is a process where they collected views and assembled them in form of this draft bill. That is what is happening with the BBI, and BBI is really anchored on the initiative by His Excellency the President and the Prime Minister on the issue of the handshake. There is a Gazette notice which actually gives it some legal status or framework, and this is a step towards the bill itself coming either to Parliament, and I think that's one of the things that we need to look at. There are two options that the BBI has. Once they do the report, that report will either be reduced into a general proposition in form of Article 257 of the Constitution. They can choose to reduce it to a draft bill, and if they reduce it to a bill like this one, then they will have to collect 1 million signatures. So people should be patient. They should stop putting the cart before the horse. The other option for them is to do it by parliamentary initiative, and that means that that report will find its way to Parliament. Parliament will then have to put it in form of a constitutional amendment bill. You remember there are many other initiatives that have come to Parliament where they have been initiated outside, brought together as a negotiated package. And you remember the electoral laws amendments just before the election itself. Right. They were negotiated outside under an arrangement called the Select Reports. That was the Kiraitu and the Orengo one. Then they brought it to Parliament by way of a motion that was tabled in both houses. So there are options. I think this report is just the beginning. And I think we should wait until that report is filed. They will either come by way of parliamentary initiative, which means it will be reduced to a bill, or eventually they will go by general suggestion, which means they collect 1 million signatures and go to the 24 counties.
All right, Honorable Kiro, are you holding your breath waiting for Building Bridges Initiative to give us, something that we can work with in terms of a referendum? The question, of course, is not whether we need an amendment to the Constitution. There definitely is support for that from very many quarters. But the question is whether we are ready for it, and what exactly are we amending?
Well, my understanding of the BBI was to cause reforms that will assist us enhance national cohesion. That's the fundamental thinking out of the 9 points. If the reforms are there that Kenyans accept and we build national cohesion, which is lacking today, for me would have achieved much more than just two individuals saying hi to each other. But what has come out is that we are now building some kind of typical Kenyan situation where we craft issues around individuals or to exclude certain individuals and build lack of consensus instead of building consensus. My thinking is on either side of the divide, if there is any divide at all, because I think when it comes to the issue of this constitution, of necessity, we need to do an audit. There are many flaws in the constitution that we need to do an audit, like the one we are discussing about the position of deputy governor and many other positions. But I hope that when they bring out their recommendations, there will be a period of reflection. And that period of reflection is to allow genuine national consensus. You cannot talk of cohesion when we are still talking of others are opposed to it and others are for it. And this consensus should give us a product that is, if we do not agree on one set of issues, we can have an alternative so that when I go to vote, I'll be voting for either this draft or the other draft, such that at the end of voting, we have at least a constitution that Kenyans feel it is an improvement from the current constitution. That is my prayer, and I hope many other Kenyans are going to look at it in terms of that, instead of looking at it in terms of squaring out the 2022 election process.
All right, Honorable Hamala, your thoughts on the Building Bridges initiative and what maybe to expect from it in terms of constitutional change?
I think the Building Bridges initiative is a good project for Kenya because in terms of the handshake, we agree that it brought peace and cohesion in our country, because where our nation was headed was not in the right direction. And I congratulate President Uhuru Kenyatta and Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the handshake and then the BBI initiative. What I want to say is we want to look at post-election, future. We do not want again a scenario where there is this violence at every end of an election cycle. People are fighting. We have to bring this to an end because we must have security in our businesses. There must be investor confidence that I can invest in Kenya, I can plan for 20 years without disruption. And so as in my thoughts, I am thinking BBI is a very good initiative. We will support, but we want to see the report. When it comes, we will see when we cross the bridge. So as of now, I will say we need to be patient. We should not overjudge, but these things should not be actually made around individuals, because individuals will come and go. President Uhuru, Raila Odinga, with time they will not be there. We have to put in place structures. We have to build a constitution that is going to be there for generations to come.
We have to think posterity. All right, Nyangi, your comments on BBI before we each have a round of your closing comments. But Nyangi, first your comments.
Yeah, I agree with you. And from the views and feelings I hear from Kenyans, they are of the opinion that yes, we're going to have a referendum. But now the issue is, what are we addressing this referendum? And it's good that the BBI has now retreated to do the report. We already have the Punguza Mizigo, and there will be another one that will also be fronting an alternative that Kenyans can prefer, can look at and have to make a choice. But for now, we have to wait a little bit to see what kind of recommendations are going to come from the BBI. But as things are, it enjoys some good political will.
Goodwill.
That is likely to push it, to give it some lifeline. And also, looking at the issues that were raised when the two principals addressed, His Excellency the President, the Raila Odinga, made their address. The issues they raised, to me, yes, they are real issues that need to be addressed. And now that the team has gone round, they have collected the views of Kenyans that have spoken to the issues that they need to address. And like I had mentioned earlier, I bothered to find what is it that the Kenyans wanted to address to this. Where others are saying, we still feel excluded from government. We still feel that we are outside. So we need more inclusion. So let's wait and see what comes out of this, and it will be an option to the Kenyans to make a choice. And I'm sure there will be another initiative
that will come up.
Yeah,
All right, gentlemen, I'll give you each a minute for your closing comments, and I'll start with you, Honorable Loch. And the question that many Kenyans, of course, are left with is, even after we have very acrimonious elections every single time, some of the things, are they captured in these initiatives that we are looking at changing the constitution? One of those being corruption, theft, wastage, things like electoral malpractice. Those seems to have taken a backseat when you look at the constitution, how IEBC is constituted right now, yet they're the ones who are still going to run the census. But of course, your closing comments in regards to what Kenyans should look forward to, because we need a better Kenya.
I think Kenyans should look at a very interesting next 1 year. I think in this 1 year we have a lot of activities. Remember, in the background of this constitutional change, we are looking at the census, which must be done every 8 years at the minimum, and outside 12 years. We are looking at a situation where we need to carry out a lot of electoral reforms, including filling up the position of commissions for the IEBC itself. And I think we will culminate this perhaps in a referendum, I suspect, in September or August of next year. I see a situation in which we may go a parliamentary system or a hybrid where we have mixed sharing of executive power between the a president and a prime minister. And I look to a situation where Parliament itself, in terms of its oversight and accountable structures, is strengthened, where the issues between Senate and the National Assembly are kind of also diffused sorts. I'm looking for a situation where cabinet secretaries themselves will perhaps be representatives of the people, elected by the people, sitting in Parliament and able to answer to questions that are raised by the National Assembly itself. Yeah.
All right, Honorable Kiro, your closing remarks.
Well, the certain terms in English are very elusive. When we talk of national integration, national unity, it is not the same as national cohesion. And since independence, Kenyans have suffered from national cohesion just because some leaders excluded certain communities from the center of power and from the national resources. I hope as we go towards this BBI initiative, we should ensure that the exclusion of the past is removed and we build a Kenya that is more cohesive and focused on the ills that afflict our society.
All right, Honorable Hamala, your closing remarks.
I think what we need to do as leaders, and especially we that are elected, we should look beyond our elective positions. We should look beyond our geographical areas. Think about Kenya. We should think about future generations. That whatever we do today, we should not do it just in expediency that is kind of cushioning us for now. But we should come up with laws. We should put together a constitution. If there are changes to be made in a few months to come or in the next 1 year, let us look at everything holistically, like after 10 years or after 5 years, which Kenya am I leaving behind? Because we have children, we will have grandkids, and Kenya will move on. So during this process, we should put aside our selfish interests so that we can look at things holistically and be part of the process making that just don't favor us right now, but we are looking at our country tomorrow.
All right, finish with you, Nyangi Juma.
My prayers to the people of Kenya and to the leaders of Kenya is that let's have administration and governance that is people-centered. That whereas we think of all these amendments, we think of all the issues we want to address, let's have in mind that who is the beneficiary of this? What impact does this have to the common mwananchi? Who looks up to the leaders to provide the direction? Who is going to finance all this? When we think of all this is public finance. It's going to be financed with public money. Who is going to give that money? It's going to give rise to more taxes to the same people who are going to fund this. And finally, I'm looking up to the two key offices, the Office of the Auditor General and the Office of the Control of Budget, that are going to, their terms have come to an end, and they're key to the devolution and the key also to how the resources are shared. Looking forward that they will be constituted in a manner that they will give confidence to the people of Kenya, and also to the sharing and the use of.
Thank you very much, Nyangi Juma, policy analyst. We also have Honorable Kipruto Arap-Kira, former Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Anthony Oluoch, Member of Parliament, Mathare, and Honorable Titus Hamala, who's Member of Parliament for Lurambi. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the state of the nation. We're now going to take a short break, but do stay with us. We have more news coming up, and also Black and White, where today we're going to be looking at the fusion between culture and religion. Do stay with us right here on Morning Express.